Hey kids, it's JJ. Got a quick tip thing demonstration for you today. I've had a couple of my friends ask me about swapping out motors on micro quads, micro brushless quads, like this little guy here. This poor bastard has been through hell. This was actually the first micro quad I ever had when I first got into micros, which is actually just, I think, been the summer as far as the brushless go. And the first one I ever did, I bought fully assembled, which is something I never do, almost never. I don't buy ready to fly quads. I always build quads that I build my own quads. But since I'd never done a micro brushless before, I thought, just for shits, I'm gonna buy an awesome Q95, which was a badass bird. Loved it. It was just like, oh my gosh, this is the funnest thing ever. So of course, since then I've built like 10 micros. But it had a lot of unfortunate turn of events. I shattered the frame, I think, the second day, put it in another frame, and then I broke something else. Then I smoked a motor, which GearBest never did send me another motor, bastards. But anyway, and I wanted to do this how to swap out a motor video, and it's very quick, very easy to do. And I was going to do it because I needed to replace one of my DYSs. And I have a bunch of these DYS, and excuse me if I don't get all this stuff in shot, I'll try to. These are DYS 7500 KVs. I got a bunch of these I use for spares and whatnot. But then I realized I had actually broken this frame too. See my half-ass patch there? But I'm going to continue with this video, and then later today I'm actually going to put all the guts of this into a Flyegg 100, which I already have my custom Flyegg 100 and my custom everything else. I got a Flyegg 130, but we're going to take the guts of this after this video. I'm going to put it in this Flyegg. So let's start this off. Let's assume I got to replace a motor. I got to put one here, and let's just assume this one's bad too, which it's actually not, but this is a good trick. What you want to do, if at all possible, when you're pulling off your old motor, give it a little bit of a tension. You're just a very little bit, and you're pulling off to the side. Then you take your soldering iron, try to get this in shot, and bam, 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 nice and clean. See that? Right off of your ESC. Easy money. So then what I do, now you don't have to do it this way. Most of my micro builds, take my Flyegg for instance, I put bumpers on the front and not the rear. Saves a little bit of weight, and I don't usually crash that way. I crash that way. So even my Flyegg 100, or I'm sorry, 130, same principle, and a couple of my other quads, I do that too. So we're going to do that with this. The most important thing to remember, especially with these little micros, is always measure your screw distance. I'm going to use these screws here, which actually are too long. If you look at that screw, it will hit the windings of that motor if you put them in like that. But you have to take into account I'm putting these on top of the frame right there. Okay, so usually what I do, fucking really, there it is. Okay, usually what I'll do is I will assemble the motor on there first, and then I will solder the connections on. Usually depends on the build sometimes. So this is pretty straightforward. What I'll do is I'll take a screw, I'll put it in the bottom, then I'll stick the same hole through the frame, I'm sorry, through the bumper. I'll take one of these motors, and I probably won't get this in shot because it's kind of tricky to do, and I'll line up that first hole. Bam, like that. Now don't screw it down tight, okay? Then what you want to do is try to, I'm not going to get this in shot, there's no way, it's too dark down there. Try to line up the other holes. Let's see here. So what I'll do is I'll at least line up that bumper, and it goes in. Then if you wiggle the motor a little bit, you can feel it kind of hit that thread. Let's see. Bam, look at that shit, son. All right. I haven't been drinking yet, that's why this is boring. So, and to check that, one of the things that I do is I hold this up again, put it through the frame, and then put your bumper, you know, this gives you perspective. Put your bumper on there, and it's like that's all that's going to be sticking into that motor. Can you see that? Sorry, lighting's poor. Okay, that's all that's going to be going into that motor. There we go. And then you want to look at your motor, and it's like, okay, these screws actually, even if I didn't put those bumpers on, would probably be okay, but I have shorted out micro motors. I don't usually do it with big quads, but yeah, be careful about your screw length. And here's a neat little tip. If your if your screws are going into your micromotors are too long, cut the fuckers. Seriously. Use a decent sized dike or side cutter and whack, just cut that shit off. These are pretty soft screws. They're aluminum screws, obviously. And they cut really easy. Sorry about that, kids. My smoking hot wife just came out and interrupted me. So anyway, put those on. Like I said, line up your bumpers, slide a couple screws in there. Now, there's a big thing about, do you use Loctite, do you not use Loctite? I don't usually. I just don't. I've never had a problem. I mean, I guess I have had lost a screw, a couple times, but it's not a big deal. Okay. So that's that. I'm not going to even bother putting the other two screws on the other side because like I said, I'm going to tear this frame apart. Then the next thing you want to do, make sure, this is how I measure wires. Now these are used motors, obviously, so take it with a grain of salt. Usually these wires are that long. What I will usually do then, and with these DYS motors, Chris, here's a tip. This is for my buddy, Explicit FPV. These DYS motors come with the wires like this. Before you solder them on, take a razor blade and separate them carefully and then spread them back, because it's a real bitch to do at, trying to solder and do that, okay? So what I usually do is I will take a screwdriver and go like this, or you can tape them down first. I usually don't tape stuff down first. And then, see if I can get this in shot, with your thumb, and then cut them to the farthest length. So you've got your ESC connectors, 1, 2, and 3. Cut them to the third length. That way you know all of them are going to fit. I usually give them a little bit of a twist. And then I solder the inside first. I'm going to try and just do this with one hand. I do this all the time, actually. Always do this on the table. Okay. Like I said, I'm going to be gutting this bird anyway, so. There we go. Bam. Okay, well that one didn't stay, but that's okay. You get the idea. I'm not going to triple my work effort. So, that, I wound that up too tight. That's knotting up. But that's okay, you're getting the gist. So, then I take some Kapton tape. Hang on. Sorry about that. Another interruption. It's Sunday afternoons at this household. So, take some Kapton tape, Kapton. Take a stretch. Give it a cut. You don't need much. Wrap it around. I usually start at the bottom of the arm, like this. Wrap it around. It's much easier than starting at the top. Bam! Look at that. Bada bing, you're done. Okay, now this is a piss poor job. I'm not trying to make it nice because, like I said, I'm gutting this bird. This frame is going in the trash. So, well, it's going to the scrap heap and I'll use it for pieces. And that's really it. Now the trick is, before you take off and fly, make sure you're going the right way. Motor direction. There's two ways of doing this. One, go ahead and arm it with your props off. Not that it'll kill you or anything, but arm it, make sure these are going the right way, okay? Now, if they're not, there's two ways to fix that. This one should be going clockwise, this one should be going counterclockwise. The first way to fix that, if you just don't feel like pissing around with your computer, take any two of these leads, there's 3 leads, because these are 3-phase motors, and reverse them. So unsolder this one, hang on. Unsolder this one, put this one over here and this one over here, and that will reverse the direction of your motor. This works with big birds, little birds, any 3-phase motor actually, and it'll reverse it. That's faster than going into BL Heli S, hooking it up to your computer and doing all that bullshit. Or you can go into BL Heli Suite on your computer and boot it up, go into it, reverse the direction of that particular motor, hit save. I usually, with a micro, if I'm doing a brand new build, that's how I do it. When I'm just doing a motor swap and I'm sitting out here in the garage and I'm just hook a battery up, bam, see what it does. If it goes the wrong direction, hang it. Just, you already got your soldering iron on, just swip them around. Because when you're running an existing setup like this, I already know everything's tuned and set. So I don't need to hook this up to my computer for anything. There's no other, by swapping a motor, if you're swapping out, you don't have to change any settings. So you can just reverse those two, any of the two wires. It can be the far left and the far right, or the middle, it doesn't matter. Just swap two of them, it'll reverse the direction of the motor. If I do a brand new build and I'm gonna be on the computer in beta flight and all that crap anyway, yeah, then I'll usually do the BL Heli suite and reverse them. So that is basically it. I don't think there's a whole lot more to talk about. I usually do throw conformal coating, bam, over my motor connections. If you don't want to waterproof your whole bird, that's fine, but I usually do it over the large bare connections. It just makes things a little bit safer, and if you do land in wet grass or something, you're not going to short out those major terminals with the AC. So that's really about it. So hopefully that helps a couple of you out there, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Until next time, keep shining side up. Bam. Bye.